Hello, hello. This is the 155th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2224, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. Today, we have a very theoretical subject.
Yep, one which no longer has any practical application.
Exactly.
In anyone's daily life, really.
It's a school subject. And it's a subject that in school most of the kids refer to as Gen, which stands for genetics or genetic modification.
Yeah. And to be fair, most of them call it Borgen, so boring genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is relatively boring. I definitely considered it boring when I was a...
even you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, at the time, it was definitely not my favorite subject.
No, sure. But the reason I'm surprised is, so when I was a kid and we learned it back in, what would that have been? Like the 2120s.
Yeah.
It was all theoretical, we didn't get to do any practical experiments. And as I understood it, like by the 2160s, when you were studying it, you did actually get to do some experiments in class.
When I was in primary school, definitely.
And in the intervening years, that's quite a while ago now, of course. Kids find it super boring now because it's back again to no practical experiments.
True. I think the actual experiments were definitely... Okay, they were not boring. Yeah, you're right. Like, because the actual...
I guess, but you weren't doing experiments all the time. Yeah, I guess you had to do a lot of reading. And
so definitely in primary school, I think when I was about 7-8 years old, there was a lot of theory. How does everything work? And there was a lot of theory there,
I see.
And by the time you actually get to the fun stuff, I think I was already 11, 12, something like this. So Gen as a school subject. Yeah. So, and because we often speak about very real technology in our 23rd century, which we think is interesting for you, the listener, in the 21st century. I initially hadn't identified this as an interesting topic to speak about.
No.
But then the other day I read the age of the subjects that you are taught in school, and language, mathematics, arts have been there for a long time. But Gen is just for the last, 150 years, something like this, become a more and more relevant topic. Same with prompting, actually. Like at the time of our listeners, both of these subjects didn't exist. Instead, they did biology. I think biology has been replaced very much by Gen, I would say.
Sounds about right.
But so we thought it's fun to speak about our childhood memories because, I mean, with many subjects, you are taught them and then you're grown up, you're an adult to find out you don't really need any of this stuff. Gen was definitely one of.
Yeah. And you can say why, at least for that part. Like I mentioned, it's no longer something that kids in school even have practical experiments with. And partly it's because there's no more research to be done. There's no more work to be done in that field because it's all by now, long ago, been handled by AI and our cyborg chips. Yeah. Which, directly modify our bodies at a molecular level. Yeah. And the way that works is already long understood. There's no more room for improvement in that area. So.
And also, we don't really need to know how this works. I don't know how a Congo works. No. I know how to use it. Exactly. Same with my cyborg chip. If I want to have pink hair, just tell it to make me pink hair. I don't need to be able to do it.
Don't need to understand how you would do it. If you didn't have access to a cyborg chip, how would you do this using older techniques?
I mean, but the thing is, it's the same with mathematics. You're taught it in school. I thought it was quite interesting. How often do I use it in my daily life? Never.
Sure.
And the same with language. I was taught Dutch. I was taught English. I never use English. I mean, except for
occasionally on this podcast,
just to record this podcast. But in my daily life, I speak Dutch, and everybody around me gets it auto-translated. And the same with Gen. I never used Gen. No. When was the last time you did?
That's even less applicable to daily life.
I can't remember the last time I actually did some genetic manipulation myself. But maybe like we're getting ahead of it a little bit, getting our childhood memories to maybe. We can still go into our childhood memories of the subject.
I think there was a character, like a mascot for the class, for the lessons. And I think he spanned both our time in school. It was called Eugene.
Eugene. He's still around?
That's what I wasn't sure about.
I checked
kids in school at the moment. So
because it's sort of like, when I was a kid, no. He's still actually there, still wearing the same hi-hat, still wearing the same dark eyebrows.
Okay.
I mean, they did some, so let's say...
Have they updated like some of the forms that he changes into?
Apparently he's now changing into everything.
Oh, okay.
So, but I also like the hi-hat looks a little bit different, the eyebrows look a little bit different, but this is just, let's say, slight design upgrade, so you still can recognize him. And the idea was, of course, Eugene changing shape and appearance all the time. That's the whole thing about genetic manipulation.
Yeah.
But at least when I was a kid, you basically see him in like 3-4 different incarnations all the time.
Yeah.
But now they've basically expanded it to pretty much everything from dogs to bicycles, from glasses to robots. So.
Sure, yeah. Like when I was a kid, my favorites, I think there was like three animals that he'd go between. Puma, bear and hawk.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
But of course, by now there's many different animals as well.
I mean, there's 40 years between when you were taught it in school and I was taught it in school.
Were they also your favorite? Or?
The puma, yeah, definitely. I think that was everybody's favorite.
It's this cool roar sound, is that a roar? Is that the word that a puma makes? The noise of a puma, yeah. Like when Eugene would show up and be in the form of a puma, you would hear that sound in the background.
I always like to think that was his original shape, the original Eugene the puma. But he's apparently still around. He's still used. They even have collector skins. You can even collect them. You can even pay for to get all Eugene skins. You can even have yourself look like some of them. Definitely, especially the biological skins that he uses. That's pretty cool. But I do remember when I was taught it in school, we already mentioned you have the theoretical part and the practical part. And I didn't really like it much. And most of the kids thought it was boring. That's apparently also still the case. It's one of the least favorite subjects in school. I remember particularly the robots not liking it.
Sure, because they're in school, because they want to socialize and be around people, that they know how to be around people, but they don't actually need to be there to learn subject material.
Yeah. I mean, it's like genetic manipulation doesn't even affect robots, right? So, I mean, that's even for them. It's interesting to know how to do it, but they can't even do it on themselves. And then it becomes even less.
And it's frowned upon a little if they do it on like their classmates.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, like for some of the practical tests, we'll get to them in a minute maybe. That was posing a bit of a challenge, because you need to pass also the practical tests. And if you can't manipulate on yourself, what are you going to do?
True.
But yeah, I mean, of course, robots actually already know everything, right? So they're just in school for cultural reasons anyway, because they're essentially an adult when they are made.
Yeah, they don't have the social graces yet, but they have the capabilities.
Exactly. So they actually already know everything. So they're just in school to learn the whole social part, to be able to have this shared experience and to feel more part of society. So essentially, they're just baiting their time in school anyway until they can use all the knowledge that they already have. And then also they're being taught things that they already know and don't really need. Can be a bit frustrating. And they were often flunking, definitely, on purpose.
Out of protest.
Yeah. So do you remember anything specific from when you were being taught Chen? Any memories? I mean, it's a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So I think.
Like I said, it was all theoretical back when I was there. I think that made it a bit too dry for anything to stick out in my memory. Main thing I remember about it is that my teacher at the time, because he would be talking, you didn't want to be sitting in the front row because his breath would get worse and worse.
Oh, yeah?
It went on. Yeah, that was impressive. And that's not anything to do with the subject. That's just the teacher. For yourself, because you got to do experiments, do any of them stick in your mind, or did the teacher, was that person particularly noteworthy?
Yeah, it was particularly noteworthy because she wasn't actually in the room with us because she was in permanent quarantine.
Oh.
Yes, because she did a lot of genetic manipulation on herself. And at one point made herself radioactive.
That's not great and impressive to do through genetic engineering.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you do it all the time and really like it, you're maybe interested in experimentation.
So she had a whole lot of radioactive stuff going on, but it didn't hurt her herself.
Nope, apparently not.
I mean, that is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely helps that if you're radioactive, that it doesn't actually hurt yourself. But I mean, this is, of course, a long time ago, right? So this was the 60s. I mean, previous century 60s. There was, I mean, the technology was really advanced. So it didn't really hurt her health, but it would affect the people around her or the robots around her. So that's why she was in permanent quarantine. And also, you could say this could have limited her enthusiasm, maybe warned her, maybe she would experiment less, but it was the opposite. Because, I'm already radioactive. I'm already in quarantine. What's going to happen?
Sure.
And she was really cool, actually. The teacher was actually pretty cool. Pretty funny looking as well.
Sure.
This thing when your hair is like static,
Way of
what's the word?
Use a Van de Graaff generator.
Yeah.
It makes a whole bunch of static electricity and it makes your hair stand up.
Yeah, exactly. If you get really close to something, then your hair suddenly kind of...
Well, you even get pulled toward it.
Yeah, it gets pulled toward it, yeah. So, but like her hair was that, like around her face, without anything that it was actually visibly pulled towards. So it was like permanently sticking out.
I see.
Which was pretty cool because we had like an image connection. So she was broadcasted on our lenses. And then she would fill the whole screen most of the time with her hair. And then...
like on purpose?
No, because it was just taking up so much space.
Okay, yeah.
And that was the only part that really made the theoretical part a little bit more entertaining was if we were clearly being bored and not paying attention, she would just say, okay, that's the theory. Now I'll show you what this means in practice. And then she would do something on herself to show what the effect would be. It's like, don't do this because look what happens. That was actually pretty cool. Yeah, I can't remember her name.
No, it's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, yeah. It's, yeah. Anyway, a popular teacher for not a popular subject. Do you remember any specific projects or tasks or tests?
Yes. So, in my class, me and so myself and two of my classmates, we had the exciting opportunity to make a big presentation board, lots of pictures, diagrams, arrows pointing between things. And then we got to, practice our presentation in private and then give it in front of the whole class. Couldn't tell you, I mean, it was about, genetic engineering modification stuff, but I couldn't tell you what we actually said.
Yeah. Especially as a kid, those are the exciting moments, the actual presenting and not the actual...
Not the material.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
For you?
Yeah, I mean, because it was not just theory, but it was also things in practice, definitely near the end. Okay, we already knew all the theory. We had to show that we could do things. And then I remember three things in my mind. Those were the three main tests. For the first time, we had to modify potato genes and then grow them. So we had to come up with a new...
Like a new strain or a new type of potato.
Yeah, exactly. Like how would you change a potato, manipulate it and grow it? This was like a project for a whole semester. I think it was when I was 11. We had to do this. We made them purple.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean...
I was imagining like cuboid maybe.
No, I mean, it was a group project anyway. I can't remember if it was a compromise or it was pretty cool or whose idea it was. So that was the first thing. And then the same thing, we don't know what a potato would with an animal.
Okay, yeah.
And there the actual assignment, I remember that, it was to change color, which we were like, oh man.
You already did that with the potato, but...
Yeah.
And you got to do it with an animal.
Exactly. We made a purple raccoon. I guess maybe we're being lazy because
we
already knew purple, and it didn't really say.
Yeah, you knew the hex code for it.
Yeah.
Why mess with success?
Exactly. The hex code. Wow. You would have done good in my school.
Mm-hmm.
And then the let's say the closing test was to grow an extra finger.
Oh, like on your own hand, or
yeah.
Oh, okay. Not just out of a flower pot.
No, it had to be on your own hand. Yeah. This was also the thing, because the other ones were just to show you how you could do it. And this was a thing saying, see, this has really practical application. With another finger, you can do more stuff. Grab your coffee mug tighter and stuff like that. And then this was also the hardest. And also, you would pass if you could recognize that was what you were attempting.
Yeah. So even if you hadn't succeeded so well.
Yeah, like for example, in my case, I had 2 additional fingers.
Okay.
Yeah, one I remember that specifically, and I thought, oh, that's even cooler. But I didn't get such a good grade because the assignment was 1, and it's not like you get extra points for more fingers.
Sure.
But others, like they had an additional hand instead of an additional finger and stuff like that.
Nice.
I also remember that because to undo this wasn't so easy. So I definitely had...
I'm sure you didn't just chop it off.
Ooh.
Like surgery, not you personally with some scissors, but gone to the doctor, had some surgery.
No, you had to do some reverse engineering there. And that apparently, that's relatively advanced genetic modification.
Yeah.
It was definitely not part of the standard things that you learn in school. So we learned how to grow an extra finger, but to then actually remove the extra finger. Of course, it's a relatively standard procedure because everybody gets this assignment in school, but especially if you then grow 2 additional fingers or an additional hand, so that's not something that they plan for. So,
True.
But this was basically what we did then over the summer because it was the last assignment. And over the summer, then I had this, what do you call it? This medical phase where...
Like you were interested in? Or
No, it's basically the phase where I had to go through different programs to get rid of the additional, of the 2 additional fingers.
Right.
This had a name at the time, some abbreviation.
I'm afraid I don't recall.
Yeah, it's also, it's the 60s. Anyway. And then we get back to what we started with. So, practical applications in our daily life.
It depends how you look on it, but in terms of any human person actually like making contributions to this field, there are none. It is done.
And it's, I think, I don't feel it's really debated, kids are still being taught this in school, but nobody really seems to question, is this really useful? Shouldn't we learn something more useful?
The thinking like with many subjects is, even though we have cyborg chips that take care of all of this for us, what if they go away and we suddenly need to start over?
Fair enough.
If cyborg chips suddenly go away, life as we know it's over, that's not really a believable or practical thing to happen. So, but okay, that's the reasoning maybe.
The thing is, at the moment in the usual primary school, it's 50% music and arts and 50% science, right? So, and science, it's mathematics and physics and chemistry and gen and stuff like this. Maybe there's too much science in there, but we can have more arts and music and just get rid of gen.
That'd be fine by me, but then again, I'm not in school.
Yeah, okay, it's a big topic anyway. Yeah, okay. That's it for Jen and Eugene.
Indeed. We have one listener question that we were going to...
true, yeah.
We figured we'd reply to this week, so let me read that out. So Müller Back Manufacture asks, Hello, Dirk and Simon. Every Sunday morning, we listen to your newest episode while we sell our buns and cakes in Frankfurt, Griesheim. Now we are curious. Are we still around in the 21st century? Could you check? Choose.
It was a pretty cool question. And also gave us like a target for, how do you call it? Like something to do.
Oh, indeed, a goal.
Yeah, because we did go there today just to check it out.
Yeah. Right, in person. Why not, rather than just using the camps.
Theoretically, like, the thing is, we are in Frankfurt, right? So we live in 23rd century Frankfurt. This email comes from 21st century vanguard from Müllers Back
Manufacture.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Sure.
But it's still there.
Yeah, right, exactly that. Bakery is still there. I don't know. So covered completely, not in real pink icing, but decorated to look like the entire building is covered in pink icing, which is a really nice touch for a bakery.
I'm also guessing this wasn't the case in the 21st century. I haven't heard.
I mean, at least this particular iteration, it looks too new.
Yeah.
The icing that's on there. Maybe they had some older version of that, 200 years ago.
Yeah. We would be really...
That would be a question for the writer of the question.
Exactly. So Müllers Backmanufaktur, if you were already covered in pink icing in the 21st century, we would be interested to know.
If
you already are, okay, then we would be...
Yeah. Excellent.
Then we would love to find out. But in case you aren't, in the 23rd century, you are. And initially it just looks like a building covered in pink icing. But then it works as a massive food conglomerate. Because we saw people coming by yelling something that they want to eat and it would pop out. Pop out of the icing.
By the time they got there.
That was pretty cool. And it would, it could be like a pizza or a banana or whatever. You could yell that, it would pop out. I guess you needed some sort of subscription. And it would be covered in the pink icing because that's what it came through. And I thought that was a really good detail.
I agree.
Yeah, so to all the listeners at the Müllers Backmanufaktur, I'm getting better at pronouncing it. Don't worry about it. You're going to be around in 200 years. And you're going to have some really crazy ideas.
Definitely.
Okay. So how did they get in touch?
They wrote to us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com, and that's where we'd like the listeners to this episode to write as well. And we'd like those listeners to put the number 155 in the subject line so that we can know this episode successfully went back in time and that they're writing in response to listening to it.
Yeah, and I have to say this works really well because most of you actually do this. And of course we want to find out, did this episode actually reach you in the 21st century? Apparently all of them do. And if we scroll our email list, we see all kinds of numbers and we can see, hey, 148, 39 and so on. And we see, hey,
Right, some people listen to them a year or two after they originally went back. That's okay too.
Exactly. And at the moment, the last email in there is from a few hours before our next episode is released. So because at this moment, we're still recording this episode.
Sure.
So this didn't get back to the 21st century just yet.
Correct.
The moment you hear this and answer, then suddenly that email pops up in our inbox that was previously empty. It's pretty cool how this works.
It's fun to watch sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Especially we see, or we know when the episode gets back. And then especially in the first 2 days, we see the inbox growing retroactively.
Yeah.
Certainly, we had another email
they were there
20
all
years
along.
ago. Exactly. That's pretty cool how time travel works.
It is.
Keeps amazing me. All right. Then I would say that was it for this week. Thanks for listening and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.